we, the entire Voice of Africa team, we say welcome. This is the place where you can lift your voice because one voice is just the voice for the people. So you are very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very delighted to be here with you all and to thank you very much for the invitation. I also want to use this brief moment to express my sympathies to all persons in the diaspora and our Canadian friends of the loss they have suffered, especially in the midst of this pandemic. We pray that God will heal us and give us solace as we go through these very difficult times. So thank you very much, and we sit now ready for the show.
Yes, we are ready for the show. So you guys, I want to know, the world don't know who you are. So we are Canadian here. We are, first of all, even though I have been posting around the Supreme Court justice, but I would just like you to introduce yourself like formally.
Okay. My name is Kabineh Muhammad Jane. I was born in a small city. We call it city. Some people say, no, it's not a city. But we say it is a city in a district in Nimba County called Zoge District. And my town, my city is Ban City.
Wow.
That's where I was born. My early education were basically religious education, where I studied the Quran under my father, who was the teacher who had established an Islamic educational facility in that city and was receiving students from all over the county and beyond. So my father was there, and with this, so he was a cleric, an Islamic cleric. So we were there until he relocated to Monrovia when I was around 12, 13 years. And he was relocated because the chief imam in Monrovia at the time had passed, and they wanted someone to replace him. And they had agreed that my father should be invited to come to be the person to succeed the imam. So we moved to Monrovia, and then I started Western education in a church house. I still remember when the teacher for the first time called me and asked me to give my name. That was my first day in a Western educational facility. And then when I called my name, then he said, what kind of name is that? So we'll have to give you a civil last name.
Aha, civil last name. Very interesting.
Yes, so I said, okay. Then he said, we'll call you Paul. Okay, the last thing you can get that, but your name will be Paul. So I said, okay. Then I sat in class. But I was worried, very worried, because I knew with the name Paul, that would, if my father heard that, that would have been the end of my schooling as far as Western education was concerned. So maybe through God's grace, I summoned the courage to go to the teacher after class to say, teacher, I'd like to talk to you. And he looked me in the eyes and just said, what do you want to say? I said, teacher, I would like to come to school, But this name you have given me now, if my father heard it, that would be the end of my coming here. And I really want to come to school.
Oh,
He looked at me and just said, "What did you say your name again?" I said, Kabineh. And he said, "Okay, we will write it any kind of way." And then, of course, those days, every day you went to school, you had to stand up and then you pledge allegiance to the flag. And after that, then they will call roll. And every time my name was called, it was a big, there was big laughter, you know. But that is how I
yes.
like Kabineh. What I mean is that, you know, and of course this was not unique to me. I mean, that was the way the system was run, because the educational philosophy of Liberia was always to Christianize and
Exactly.
the natives. So that was part of it. If you went to school, so to speak, you had to generally you had to generally take on to one of those names that came from across the Atlantic Ocean. So that is what I continue, and now I went to the University of Liberia where I studied geography, basically environmental science, and then I went to law school. Then I also did some further studies in the US, Belgium, and also in Egypt. My public service started with working at the Freeport of Monrovia, where I work as a clerk, and then rose through. I worked there for 13 years and rose through the ranks and became the port manager of the Freeport of Monrovia. Then I also practiced law, and after some time got admission to the Supreme Court bar, and thereafter I became Minister of Justice. And then in 2006, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf nominated me, and I was confirmed by the Liberian Senate to be Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of Liberia. So basically, that's a little thing about my life.
Wow. First of all, I want to say, in everything that we do in this world, it is about having that one person that motivates you, having that one person that inspire you, whether it is that one person or a community of people. Like growing up in Liberia and in Africa, how when we hear it takes a village to raise a child. When I listen to you speak, this is just the words that is warning in my ears. And
That is
your willingness to learn. You want to go to school, but having to look at the fact that you have to change your name. You are now poor, and you didn't even know. I bet you didn't even know you were kind of fighting against colonialism at that moment. You kind of bounce back and say, "Whoa, listen, this is my name. I'm not poor. I'm not sure how my father gonna deal with this, but this is my name. So either way, this is who I'm gonna be called."
yes, and that experience, that stance on my part, as young as I was, must have been informed by an experience. When we were growing up in Bang, there was an elder brother who was a very good, who was the son of a very good friend of my father. Those days, they had a compulsory education. So family members had to send their children to school under the President Tubman policy. And then it turned out that when he went to the public school, they registered him that day as Stevens Turi. And then the children at the time had this tradition where they would start to go to school in group. as they reach your house, they'll call your name.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go. So the old man, Mr. Toure's father, was sitting outside in the veranda, and then these children came and spoke to the old man, and he said, "Where is Stevens?" So the old man turned around and said, "Stevens? Yeah, do I have a Stevens in my house?" And they said, "No, we're talking about Sidiki." So the old man said, "Wow. This man has not gone anywhere yet. He now has an English name." So I'm told that that was the end of Mr. Toure's attending that educational facility. So I remember that very clearly. So on that day when the man said he will be giving me a civil last name, and that name was Paul, I knew that taking on to that name meant no more going to that school. But I consider it the grace of God that when I said to him that this would be unacceptable, he readily agreed. Those were not the days you argue with teachers. No. But he just readily agreed. And I see that as God's own intervention.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yes, thank you. So that's how we started, and here we are.
Wow, that's so wonderful. So yeah, so the impact of you changing your name, because when I see black
that's how
people,
we started, and here we are.
Yes, here we are. Wow, that's so wonderful. So yeah, so the impact of you changing your name, because when I see black people, started, and here we are. Yes, here we are. Wow, that's so wonderful. So yeah. Josh, one thing now we want to get to that place where you are today, Josh. Your last post, and I am echoing myself, so I need to kind of let me see what's happening here. Where you are today, Josh. There is echo.
Yeah, there's echo.
You hearing me, right?
Right.
Okay, let me work on that. That's good, right?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yay! I'm a technician. Right now, I'm a technician. I give myself a tap on the back. So yeah, so as was saying, right? You coming from standing to, I can't imagine those days. But standing to the teacher and say, look, I'm changing my name. And coming back now, looking at that and with what we are going to go through now, for us to know what really happened. How did you become the Supreme Court judge and impeach Supreme Court judge? And with the result of the ECOWAS, that resilience, that powerful transformation, we want to know what motivated you to say, this is not right. How would you like to start the conversation? Where would you want to start? It is your calling. I'm only here to listen.
Okay, in 2006, after the inauguration of Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, as president of the Republic of Liberia, the Supreme Court bench was deemed vacant, the entire bench. In other words, there were only people holding over awaiting the nomination and appointment of the 5 Supreme Court justices. So she called me in and asked that I serve as one of the justices of the Supreme Court. So that's how I got on the bench. That was from 2006. From 2006 until 2018, we worked very well building up the judicial system, improving the services coming from the judiciary, especially quality of services, because first we realized that most of the people who were in the judiciary, especially at the lowest level, those he called the magistrates, the justices of the peace, those people constitute the first phase of any interaction with the general public. So they can, by their conduct, inspire public confidence in the system or destroy it altogether. But one of the things we realized when we got on the bench was that these people who were the main actors, main people who interacted with the general public, had the least education in the system. Most of them did not have very strong college education, or some of them even high school education. Though the law require that to be steppenary magistrate, which means the head magistrate of a magisterial court, the law in Liberia requires that you must be one who must have graduated from a law school, a university. But that was not the case. So there wasn't much investment in their education and capacity building. So we tried to work on that. And I became the first chairman of the educational institution we established under the judiciary for the purpose of training people and placing them all over the country. So we work with that. So from 2006 up to 2018, there wasn't much eventualities in terms of disagreement with any branch of government. Yes, there were cases that came to the Supreme Court where I did not agree with the majority opinion, and therefore honor our practice. I wrote dissenting opinions, but I just saw that as part of my duties and functions as a justice of the Supreme Court of Liberia. But in 2018, now, first let me go back. In 2017, there were these general presidential and general elections in Liberia, at which time the results of the election, especially the presidential elections, were contested. So parties came to the Supreme Court and filed petitions for us to review the results, because they were contending that the results were fraudulent, that there were irregularities such that there was need to rerun the election. So when our matter came up, we reviewed it as a court, and the majority decided that though there were, fraud, there were irregularities, but they were not sufficient to overturn the results, and therefore they instructed the National Elections Commission to go and clean up whatever mess was there, and then that the country should proceed to a runoff. Now, I disagree. So I disagree with the 4 persons who took that position, and I wrote a dissenting opinion where I highlighted what I consider as the fraud that was committed and the irregularities that were shown to have occurred during the process. And therefore, my position was that I thought that given the circumstances and the laws that were applicable, there was supposed to be a rerun of the entire election. And I think that opinion must have offended some very powerful people in the country. So in 2018, barely 1 year thereafter, some members of the House of Representatives who were strong people in the CDC filed a petition before the House of Representatives asking them to impeach me. And then they said there were a couple of things I had done. One was that, according to them, I abused my authority as Justice of the Supreme Court. I stole records from them because some of the records they had, when I filed my petition before the Supreme Court to say, stop them from doing what they're doing because it's not being done properly, they said that some of those documents are attached to show what they were doing was stolen. So that was one of the charges. And they also said there was an old lady whose property I stole using my judicial power, and also that I stopped one man from getting, I think, a couple of millions of dollars from a commercial bank. And as a result, the man died from frustration. And I also stopped the collection of some fees on petroleum product. So they just put those together, and when we look, they have passed it through the legislature at the level of the House of Representatives, and I took the matter to the Supreme Court, but my colleagues there, though they initially issued a instruction to the legislature, the House of Representatives, to say, hold on until we look into this matter, which they refused to do. At the end, the court did not come basically to the protection of the law. And so it was like putting me under the bus for the car to roll on me. And that's how they took it from there. Then they finally took it to the Senate for trial. Again, we said, no, this has not been done properly. The laws have not been followed. But the Chief Justice himself, who was one of those that signed some of those very documents, decided to come and preside. And so he presided over the case, and that led to my removal. And I have always maintained that the current Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is just unfit to sit over that court, based on his conduct, especially during these proceedings. So I hope I have provided some explanation in that respect.
Yes, very much. That was in details to see, you got to the bottom and came to the top. And from the way I see you talking, your passion, like you really enjoy your job as a judge.
I have very, very deep passion for the law. Sometimes when I look at people who did not have the opportunity to get legal education, I sometimes ask, how can one live in this world without having legal knowledge? Because almost everything revolves around the law. You know, so yeah, I have very deep passion for the law. Yes, that's so true.
There are kids out there who think that, okay, going to law school is just crazy. It's a lot of time you have to spend. It's a lot of books. Did you always knew that you were going to become a judge?
Oh no, not at all. In fact, when Miniseli called me and said, "Look, I'm considering sending you to the Supreme Court bench," uh, I had mixed feeling. The first thing was, "Oh, this is a very big job, and it comes with so much esteem." But it also had a lot of restrictions. There are a lot of things you can't do. You can't be involved in politics in any way, directly or indirectly. You can't do business, any kind of commercial business. You can. You can.
Hmm.
Even you can just engage in ordinary social discussion and things. Because if any of those things were to land in code before you, all these kinds of things. So when she first approached, I said, no, I'm not ready for that.
Very limited.
Yeah, I said, no, Miss Ellie, my president, I'm not sure. They said, no, there are a lot of consideration, and we just want you to go there to provide service for your country from that standpoint. That's how I wanted. So going back to your question, I had no idea, none whatsoever, that one day I was going to be a judge. No. And I was never praying for it anyway.
Hmm. So thank you very much for that. So you had to leave. I mean, you had your colleagues. And what did they expect from you? Did you just sit? Very much for that. So you did you just sit and say, okay, this is not right. I am gonna go to fight this, or I should just forget it and look for another job? What brought you to that stand?
Thank
To
you
that
very much.
that you said, I have to stand up? Because this is Liberia we are talking about, with injustice and all of that. So you being a judge, how did you, what was the road that you took? I mean, your colleagues around you, what was that like?
Well, there were many people, both in the legal profession and outside, who met me and said to me, look, this is politics. Just forget about it. You have to live in this country. So just let it go. There were those who came to me and said, if you were to take this matter up outside Liberia, it would be very costly. You have to get lawyers, you have to travel up and down. So just let it go. You know. So yeah, we had quite a troop of people who felt that way, and they came to talk to me and advise accordingly. But my position was that, look, when you look at Liberia from its founding, with the first Supreme Court bench and then moving on, there have been a number of times when the executive department, especially the office of the president, used its power. The president used his or her power, or let me say his power, to remove justices from the Supreme Court, to remove judges. Once they were not comfortable with these judges or the views that they expressed, once those judges demonstrated that they wanted to be people of independent mind and make judgment based on their understanding of the law, they found a way to remove them. And they used to do that through what they call joint resolution, JR. So if you read the history of our judiciary, many of these things have happened before mine. But in each of those cases, there was no redress. There was nothing done thereafter. People just walk away. The last one that happened was the one that took place in the 80s with Chief Justice Chia Chipo, when he was nominated, confirmed, and appointed and commissioned. He took over as Chief Justice. Few months thereafter, he ran into some problem with President Samuel Kanyando and was just summarily removed, following no rules. So I said to myself that this is a good opportunity, an excellent opportunity, at least to do this right. Get some judicial declaration that this is wrong, that this is a violation of basic rights, and the principle that says judges should be insulated from the manipulation of politicians simply because they are not singing or dancing to their songs. So I thought this was a good opportunity. I had a lot of people who came to me and said, just forget it. But I thought that if I did that, it would have been a big disservice to my country, and I didn't want to be part of that history.
You are welcome back. We are happy to see you. So you talked something. You said a nation without a firm justice system is like a river without a rock. So I was thinking about our quote and rebuilding the justice system in Liberia. So how did you cannot go without uh, peace and unity? So did you all the time? Of course, you are free today, which means you maintain your innocence throughout. But how peaceful was that? How peaceful was the process?
Well, the process was very tedious. It was one where you had to go through a lot of psychological trauma. Imagine you work in this institution, there is where people you work with that you spend most of your productive life with. These people and myself worked together 12 years at least. So to see them get throw you under the bus and walk away, that was kind of tough. Because sometimes you sat there and say, wow, so this is the way these people felt about me. All this time we've been together, we eat together, we had coffee together, we visit each other's homes.
When you really know who is there for you, right?
Yeah. So that was a little tough. That was a little tough. But what kept us going always was to say, you must ensure that this doesn't happen again to any other Liberian, to any other judge. Take this to a forum that will make a judicial determination that this is wrong. Yes. That kept me going. With all the hurdles, that kept us moving in a direction to seek justice in this case.
So how was your trip like? Did you have to travel back and forth, or you spent all the time over there?
No. I had to travel back and forth. In fact, to the best
So
of
we are talking about support. You started just before I got into support. You started telling me about how that was like in the place of work, because the place of work is you are spending a whole lot of time at your workplace than home. So the people at the workplace, they are like family. So going through what you just explained, I can't imagine going through that, because this is something it could happen to anybody. It is not, I was asking the question when it happened and I had to read a little bit. I thought, is does this got anything to do about, is it tribalism? Is it about tribe? Is it because he's from this tribe and is this? But yesterday, something very interesting. I was listening to your welcoming video. And by the way, the Liberian people, they rather welcome you into the country. Like, I think they want you to go back to work, because it was like the president is coming. Anyway, he said, what I am looking at today, it is for justice. This got nothing to do with Madingo. This got nothing to do with tribalism. It has everything to do with fighting for justice and fighting for your rights, because we want to make sure that this don't repeat itself. And when he said that, I said, okay, I crossed my list. Okay, no question about tribalism. This got nothing to do with tribalism. But is there anything that you can kind of include in that? Like, I just, because when I look at Madingo, when you are Madingo in Liberia, sorry to say it, but this is the truth. When you are like, that's how at least I look at it. Madingo people in Liberia, they almost serve like the black people in the international world in the worst, because black people, we are marginalized here. The discrimination, constant discrimination, segregation, all of that we face it here. And when you go to Liberia, honestly, from my observation, because I lived the war, I know what I saw in the war. And yeah, after that, so sometimes my mind is telling me, like, okay, we are just, the Madingo people are just like, I will compare Madingo and Black with injustice and discrimination and all of that. What is your input on that? Does that have anything to do with your impeachment, or anything we can wrap our hands around, even though we know that this was just a common injustice system? But others want to know too. There are kids who are educating themselves. There are kids who today they look up to you as a father. Your greatest motivation, what you did. What can you say to those kids?
Well, in the first place, I have always come to the conclusion that uh, tribalism is a very dangerous thing, and if you are not careful, one might start to explain a lot of discrimination through the lenses of tribalism. In my particular case, I see what happened to me as being perpetrated against me by people who had their own personal parochial interests to protect. There were those who believed that being at the Supreme Court will not serve their longer or strategic interest, and therefore it was better to get rid of me. I didn't see it in any way as a fight against a Mandingo person. No, I didn't see it that way. But on the other hand, those who were waging this war apparently saw it like we have to be careful here or else they will say we're fighting this man because he's a Mandingo man. That's why the moment they declared that I was removed, they tried to find someone to replace me who they believe come from the Mandingo tribe. So they decided to find a Mandingo person, at least as they saw it. So they brought the brother who is there now. To say, let's appease the Mandingo people so it can't look like, we fighting a Mandingo people. I mean, but I saw it differently. I saw it as people who were basically after me because they didn't like the way I was operating at the court. They didn't like the way I would take an independent position on certain issues. That's the way I saw it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So at least we know that. So guys, you hear that? Those are questions that people, I have like 5 people sending me the same question. Is it this? Is it that? Try to pull his leg. But that's wonderful to know that we are making progress in Liberia when it comes to tribalism. So that's awesome. And now, how, what the way forward? The past is the past. You are home. What the way forward for you?
Okay.
According to ECOWAS, you have to go back to work. Are you waiting to go back to work? Are you excited to go back to work? Do you want a new career or the politician or a businessman? Tell me.
Well, firstly, I'm very grateful to the ECOWAS court for at least looking into my case and rendering justice in my case. After my own country and its judiciary had let me down. So I'm very grateful. I also appreciate very much the declarations the court has made, which include the fact that I have a right to be returned to the office as Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. Now, while I appreciate all of this, and I'm very grateful, I also know very well that I can no longer, in my own right frame of mind, sit under the voice of Francis Copper, who is the Chief Justice. I can never do that because I feel in the first place that professionally, ethically, he is unfit to preside over the Supreme Court of Liberia. And therefore, to sit under him, having realized that this man and determined that this man is unfit morally and ethically to sit over the Supreme Court, I think that would be a disservice to the Liberian people. And therefore, I cannot be reinstated to sit under his voice. It will have to be a different Chief Justice. And since I do not have that power, so I will be better off not taking the job to sit at the Supreme Court while Francis Copper is sitting there as Chief Justice. No.
Rebuilding the Liberian justice system begin with peace. So moving forward. Wow. Well, what are you going to do? What is your ideal job? I mean, it is sad that, but this is what we are talking about when you say rebuilding the Liberian justice system. So having someone like that and you being so overqualified for the job according to ECOWAS, I'm just quoting what ECOWAS said. And having somebody like that, how are we going to rebuild the Liberian justice system? Because it is about justice for all.
Well,
So if someone like that is there, then justice is not being served.
Yeah, but that is why I am of the view that he's not fit to serve, to continue to serve as Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Okay, let me just give you an example. I'm sure you heard the story about one Mr. Isaac Jackson. Isaac Jackson served at our maritime office in London. He was one of the principal persons at that office. The law that was established a few years before Mr. Selly left office gave some offices what you call tenure. So when you are appointed to those offices, you will stay in there for a certain time period, and you will not be subjected to removal by the president, what you call at his will and pleasure. No, unless you commit something that is very serious breach under the law, you cannot just be removed. So this man was appointed, I think it was 5 years or 6 years, I'm not sure the exact, but he was appointed by President Selly. When the CDC-led government by Mr. Wiakimi, they immediately appointed somebody to that position when Mr. Isaac Jackson was already in the position. So he came and filed a petition before the Supreme Court to say, can you stop the government from removing me from an office where I'm supposed to be serving for this particular time period, which has not expired? And the Supreme Court, when they received the petition, issued an order to the executive department to say, leave this man in his position until we go through this case. When we finish, then that will be the end of it. But until then, leave him there. Do you know the executive department disobeyed that? And the chief justice there could do nothing about it as an administrator. So under that kind of, what kind of justice you expect? In fact, not only they didn't follow up on their own instruction they issued to the executive department to follow, they also penalized Mr. Isaac Jackson because at some point Mr. Isaac Jackson had come to the court to say, look, these people are not following your instruction. You told them to leave me in this position until this case is decided. As a matter of fact, they have cut off my salary, and I'm in London there with my family. They have cut off my salary. My passport has expired. They have refused to renew it. He said all that to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court could do nothing about it. But when he said, now it looked like the Chief Justice is spineless, then they got up to take action. And the action now, first they dismiss his petition and say, look, your position is not, it has no tenure. Which, based on the interpretation of the law, might have been right. I don't have a problem with that. But they turned around and said, Isaac Jackson had insulted the Chief Justice, and they would take they will impose penalty on him. And they suspended his license as a lawyer for 1 year. Yet, the executive department that flagrantly disobeyed the Supreme Court's order, they didn't even mention anything about that. So is that what you just said? So I just feel that this man is just unfit, he's spineless, and someone like that cannot inspire confidence in the judiciary. No.
Thank you for that response. Yes. So, Josh, Kabineh, it is sad that you will be stepping aside for now until otherwise others, which is fine. But I know that this got nothing to do with tribalism or whatnot. But why all of this been going on and you've been fighting to kind of really make a difference? You see, it's about making a difference. We often say to people, or we say to ourselves, our community, those of us who got organization, be the change that you want to see. If you desire a change, you know how desperately that change means to you. You can go ahead and change it. Do whatever it takes. Put in hard work and change it. And the dreams, rather dreams becoming a reality depending on the dreamer. If you sit and just always, oh my God, I got a dream in my head, I got a dream in my head. So I guess that dream will never become visual, right? So you taking a stand to really fight to go through what you went through to all the way to the international court, ECOWAS stepping in the way they did. There are certain people who, like this morning, I spoke to the Kwanduboni president in Philadelphia. I spoke to Mr. Joseph Saka last night. I spoke to quite a bit of people, and they are all watching, and they are like, they've been supporting you. That nothing but love, nothing, absolutely nothing but love. So I just want to use this time to say you are very loved, and a whole lot of people supported you. And when I started posting around, people are like, "What? How did you get lucky?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's not luck, it's blessing because I'm going to be having the judge on my show. This is a comeback."
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I wanted to use this opportunity also to thank all my friends out there, my brothers and sisters, the larger Liberian community who stood by me, encouraged me to take on this fight. I could not have done this all by myself. There were people who offered prayers. There were those who in fact fasted, as I was told. There are those who send me financial support, one of them being even your uncle Gaia family. Yeah, these were people that, because when we establish a fund, we call it defense fund, and we send the account number to some of these, our brothers and sisters, when we went to check the first time in the account, we got like $5,000 in there, And there were those who kept sending, so we just grateful, very grateful. Some of my sisters from Nimba County who wouldn't want me to call their
Oh, yay!
Yeah, so they constantly send me their support, financial support. There were those who pray for me continuously. And so I felt strengthened throughout this long process. Not on a day did I feel this fatigue to say, this thing is too long. I'm getting discouraged. I have to travel up and down, Yeah. So I'm very grateful to them. And I want to use this occasion to thank each and every one of them for this support and to say to them that this is your victory. This victory is for the trump of the law, is for the rule of law. It is for all of us to stand up for something that we believe in. And it could have been, it has been made possible today because you stood by us. You stood with us throughout the process. So we remain ever grateful.
Thank you so much, guys. You are hearing him, and one thing that you just said already, like resonating with me right now, sinking right into my soul, is fighting justice. It's not one man fight. You fight justice together. It's unity. Be your brother's keeper, standing together for a good cause. And that's what the Liberian people did. They came together, surrounded you, and today you are free. So there is so many things that we can do together as people, as one nation, as Liberians, and instead of focusing on bygone, we can move forward. Moving forward, we can only move forward. We are stronger together, and that's what happened in your shoes.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, there was no way I could have done this without the support that I received from all of you. Uh, I mean, the day that I sat in the Senate chambers and saw these people doing what I thought was totally illegal, and they appeared to them like they were doing nothing, trying to destroy a person's career, integrity, destroy everything he has worked for simply because of some little interest he tried to protect. I mean, it was a tough one. It was really difficult. But I was always encouraged, if you like, stimulated, invigorated by the fact that there were people who would call me in the morning, late evening, to say, God is with you. Fight
Amen.
the right. So those were the things, those intangible things, those things that you cannot put money tag to, you can't put any price on. Those were the things that kept me going through this process. And today we are grateful for this victory.
Okay, so is there we are I think we have said we have covered a whole lot. Is there anything that we didn't cover or you would like to share with the world? Like I said, there are so many people watching, and this video gonna go all around. And just anything else that you would like to kind of just bring in at this last hour, you can bring it in.
Well, nothing particular other than to say there are people who, on a daily basis, literally every day, that who call me to say, please keep on the fight. There were those who called me to say, look, uh, I want to find some way to help, but I don't have the means now. But rest assured, when the time comes, this is what I'm going to do. All of those people, I'm very grateful. There were those that, like one man called me one time to say, look, there's a guy here who have been so worried about your case. In fact, he fasted 3 days. I mean, this man doesn't know me from anywhere other than just see me around. I never one day bought him a piece of bread, yet he did that because, according to him, he just thought that what happened was wrong. So how do you thank these people enough? So all I can say is everyone who supported us in any form, shape, or please know that we are very grateful. And we want to thank God for the blessings that we have received through your prayers. And to say, may God richly bless us and save our country, Liberia.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. So you believe that we can make Liberia sweet again, right? But Liberia
Definitely.
coming from war and here we are. Liberia can be sweet again, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm one
And you
person.
said you are going to Nimba County. They are
Yeah,
waiting for you, right?
definitely.
And you're going to celebrate.
In grand style.
Wow, in full front,
And
but we want to celebrate with you. So this is the Voice of Africa radio station. We do not believe in discrimination. We believe in everyone's strength. We do believe that everybody got a voice and everyone in this world, we are all created unique in the eyes of God. So you are welcome to Voice of Africa. This is where you can speak out and there are always people sitting by or looking ready to see and ready to listen. So don't be a stranger here at the Voice of Africa, and you are always welcome here. So right now, since I saw you dancing at Rabat International Airport, I actually saw you on the 10th. I saw you dancing. So right now I'm going to play this music and you have to you gotta dance because we are celebrating. Celebration continue. You are going to dance and let us know how sweet Liberia is right now. Liberia can get sweet again. Hey, so hey, there. So,
thank you.
is that
Thank you
all you
very
got
much.
for us?
Thank you very,
I'm planning with you,
very
so we
much.
wanted to see your groove.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much. I
Thank you.
appreciate you coming on,
Thank
and
you.
you are listening to the beautiful African Queen. I go by African Queen. Everybody call me African Queen, and I am the African Queen. Though I am not the only African Queen, but I do believe that there are a lot of African queens who will like to be where I am, maybe sitting where I am, and I like to be in their place as well. But since they can be here, I sit here and I represent the sisters, the queens. So that's why I go by the African queen.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you
very
very much for having me, and
Thank
I
you.
really do appreciate you this afternoon, evening
Thank
by
you.
your end.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And good night.
Good night,
Mhm.
Liberian people. Thank you very much, Mr. Kabineh, Josh Kabineh. We still continue to call you Josh Kabineh because we are still hoping that someday you will come back because you are a good judge. So a lot of people don't want to see you going. We want to see you coming back. One person who have always been there to talk about you also, this lady is called Florence Collins. Florence Collins is always when it happens, she called me like, we have to do something. Get online. Let's have a live show. You know, those are people who are in the background. You will not hear them, but you feel their spirit around you. So thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank
making
you.
this
Thank you.
happen.
And thank you, Florence. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.